How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? It's your favorite video game producer, Video Game Maker. And, you know, I just wanted to make this video. It's just going to be a video that's not very well scripted and just a lot of my opinions. Just This video is coming about, due to the recent licensing changes from Unity. And I've been pushed quite a bit harder to move on to new game engine. There's two candidates in mind. The first is Godot, and the second is Unreal Engine. Godot is the first engine I have spent any notable amount of time using besides Unity recently. I've also spent a little bit of time in Unreal, but not enough to give it a fair chance. About me, I have been making only 2D pixel art games. That doesn't mean that I can't make 3D games or have no interest in doing them. It's just that all my experience and all the games that I've made so far and have published are 2D. Now, on to the technical nitty gritty of Godot. Godot's C# support, whether I've tried both for Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code, the IntelliSense is totally unacceptable. It does not help you. It does not recommend pretty much anything. I have spent a couple days looking up tutorials and information on how to get it to work right, and it just does not work. And I've been able to get the C# support to work in Unreal Engine and get the IntelliSense to work over there. So there's something severely there's something really wrong with Godot's C# support, at least in terms of the IntelliSense for the third-party editors. Now, contrastingly, the built-in GD script that Godot comes with natively, that you can download a separate executable that doesn't even have the mono libraries in it, you don't have to do anything, then download the Godot engine. The GD script is tightly integrated with Godot. It's got acceptable code completion. It's not fantastic code completion, but it's good enough for a noob like me that just got into Godot to use. Would I want it for a professional team? Absolutely not. Godot needs to fix their code completion for GD script, and they need to fix it for C#, no questions asked. But on a lighter note, GD script does have a surprisingly nice feature, and that's the ability to drag and drop nodes into the code. So just for example, I got one of my scripts here and just say that I just wanted to do something with my collision shape. I can just go into my physics process and drag the collision shape and put it in there, and kapow, it just makes the reference for me. And I'm just gonna put that there, and it tells me what I can do with this shape. I'm not going to specifically really get into the nitty gritty of what I've been experiencing because a lot of the code completion problems happen when you're typing really, really fast and not trying to show to a video audience what your grievances are. I guess I'll just say this up front. My feeling is Godot is overall, it's clunky and rough around the edges. I was actually surprised because I thought that Unity was rough around the edges. My biggest issue as a 2D developer with Unity is that their animation state machine likes to crash. And when it crashes, you're done. You gotta close Unity and you gotta restart it. The issue with that is that Unity, when your project is 5 years old, like mine is, it can take a long time for my computer, and I have a really good computer. Takes my computer, you know, could take 5 to 10 minutes to reopen the project. So that could be something that can guzzle a lot of time. Godot's very lightweight on the contrast, and I would imagine that once it gets about 5 years worth of work put into it with a game project that's 5 years old, it's gonna also probably chug also. Godot's tile map interface, it takes time getting used to, but it's serviceable. Uh, I made myself a very basic 2D tile map, and it's just, you can actually add collisions to your tiles. I only got collisions on the red tiles, and you can, very interestingly, Godot has a feature that you can add to the tiles that makes them navigation tiles. So the green tiles on here, I have them set up to be green navigation tiles on my tile map. One thing that Godot does that Unity doesn't do is the tile map itself kind of like crashes. It's kind of like a soft crash. It just stops responding. So if I want to paint some tiles and it goes to paint tiles and I start seeing a black square, that's when I know that Godot is done and I got to close Godot and reopen it. Okay. So this would be the same thing as a Unity animation clip. So the animation player lets you have this timeline, and you can, just the way that Godot references sprite sheets and whatnot is totally different from Unity. But once I learned how to implement what I needed to implement, it was no longer an issue, and I was able to move on with my day. The really cool thing that I like about this animation player is that you can pop up this animation player, and then you can change anywhere that there's a key, you can add that keyframe to your track. So you can do all sorts of crazy things like keyframe the wait time of your timer in the middle of your track. Another powerful thing for this particular animator, which would be similar to Unity's thing, is I could have multiple sprites stacked on top of each other and just keyframe them all together and get them to animate together in the same timing and work all together and synchronize the animations that way. And I haven't done this yet, but I believe that you can also put audio inline and you'll actually see the waveforms, which is very nice. You don't get that with Unity. You don't get to see the waveforms on your timeline. So I'll give Godot a big point for that. Now the next thing was a big problem that I had with the Godot has an animation state machine, much like Unity has an animation state machine. The animation state machine lets you blend between one animation and another, or wait for one animation to go and then hit the other animation and have all sorts of conditions. It's essentially a finite state machine for animation clips. Godot's animation state machine, it's just broken. When I get a few minutes to work on it, and then it crashes and gives frequent error messages, and it's just overall totally unusable. And that's a big, big problem. All right, nice thing. Godot 4 comes with a 2D A-star pathfinding system. Unity doesn't have that out of the box. Unity has a 3D pathfinding system out of the box, but not 2D. It works out of the box. it has this nice system where you can choose how to set it up. One of the ways is to use the tile map, so everywhere that's green is a square that the character can walk on, and anywhere that's red, the character can't walk in. And also I have a little test area that anywhere that has no tiles, of course the character can't walk on it because the star doesn't work there. It only works where you have your collision tiles. And for a 2D pixel art game, this was going to work really, really well. So with a few days of watching various tutorials, I've been able to put together a basic collision map, a basic navigation system, import my character's walk and idle sprites, and have a basic click to move system implemented. And I'll just give you a look at it now. Now, my movement system does not use the animation state machine, which would have saved me a lot of time coding, but I coded my own little vector-based movement system to change the animations, basically tell my character which way I want to go, and I use very explicit directions. So the vector on, if you're using I'm normalizing the velocity as my normal. And then I just basically experimented and watched my gameplay to come up with some magic numbers that make it work pretty well. So it's going to go ahead and do that. And I'm idling, and then I can come up and I can face up and I can face down. And I have debugging turned on, which is another nice feature. I can come over here. I can go right. I can go left. I can go upper right, upper left, down right, and I can go down left. And with some code magic, if I click on an invalid square, the character might jump a little bit, but for the most part won't go there. There's a bug right there that if I click on somewhere on the very edge, the character will glitch out. So that's something that I will need to figure out. But that's the name of the game with any A-star system, is that there's always some sort of weirdness that I have to overcome to get my character to move right. So some final thoughts on this video before I say adieu is the tile map crashing. It doesn't seem like a huge issue and can be overcome by restarting the Godot error editor. The animation tree, Godot's animation state system, is simply broken, and this is a huge deal. Without a proper animation tree, it will require me to really think about how to make complex animations that need multiple animations running at the same time with multiple layers. This being broken is, almost a deal breaker right here. Maybe Godot will fix this in the near future. As Godot stands right now, it's a very immature game engine that needs a ton of work. In my opinion, Godot should be really focusing hard on making their 2D aspect of their engine the absolute best that it can. Because there's already a 3D engine out there that Godot will never be able to touch, and that's Unreal Engine. But on the other hand, we don't have an open source alternative like Godot for 3D, really. We do have some others that I'm not quite familiar with, but at the end of the day, the key things that I believe most Unity game devs are going to look at is how close is the workflow to Unity? How easy is the programming language to learn? What concessions do I have to make? And how can I overcome those shortcomings? And those are going to be a big deal. It's not going to be just work, 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 and you can get over any problem. That just isn't the case with Godot. It's just going to be a lot of, unfortunately, for most people that want to use Godot professionally as a professional tool to replace Unity, it's going to be a lot of waiting. Godot is very far behind what Unity is, very far. And I believe that that's what Unity is banking on, is that there's nothing quite like Unity, and replacing it is going to be a hard, long upwards battle. It doesn't matter what any of the fanboys say. It doesn't matter. You just can't make Godot's problems go away with just throwing money at it and just hiring tons of people. Maybe you can. Maybe I'd be surprised, and people just throw tons and tons of money at the Godot Foundation. They hire some really talented programmers that are also extremely nose to the grindstone, getting things done and making it into an actual professional tool. But as Godot stands right now, in my opinion, when Godot Game Maker is actually better because it's not broken. So, and there's a lot of reasons why I'm not going to go with Game Maker. Game Maker is not suited to making anything more than the most basic of games. Once you go and want to try to make a big game, more than a small game, if you want to make a medium-sized game, or heaven forbid, a huge game, forget it. It's just not tenable. It's just the way that all the user interfaces put together makes Game Maker a non-choice. A non-choice. You need a flexible file system like this Game Maker. You need a better programming language, Game Maker. Godot, you need a better programming language. You need to get off of this GD script and make C# your primary language. This GD script, this is garbage. Absolute garbage. There's no inheritance, there's no polymorphism. There's nothing. It's like I might as well go back to my old days of being a PHP programmer. So, before I get on and on about all the things that I hate about GD script, and it's a mountain. Let's just say Godot is not an option at this time. It might be in the future, but not right now.